Good evening, folks. Welcome to American Flight 1305 from Chicago O'Hare International Airport to no stopping service to JFK International. So we have the flight plan. Let's do a quick brief. American 1305, Chicago O'Hare to JFK. Field elevation is 13 feet for the destination. This flight we're going to use the coast index of 27. It's less than the normal coast index that American Airlines normally use, that is 45. And the cruise altitude will be 39,000 feet. That's the winds average, and will be a tailwinds of 71 knots during the cruise. Or zero fuel weight, this evening will be 60 tons, close to the 1.6 tons, just below the limits. I'm going to use the metrics units instead, pounds instead the US measures, because I'm more comfortable to work with kilos using metrics. That's the fuel for today's flight. Is more or less 6 tons of fuel for this flight, and this will give us the autonomy of 2 hours 35 minutes. That is enough fuel for point A to B and B to C. And the alternate airport is in Newark. And we also add the extra 30 minutes of fuel and also the 5% of mandatory regarding the ICAO rules. So the estimated time for the takeoff will be in 45 minutes, so it will be 0 Zulu 45 minutes. The estimated landing is 2 hours 09 Zulu time. That means in New York time will be 3 hours before. That time will be like 11:09, yeah, in New York time. That's the flight plan, waypoint to waypoint. To the top of climb we have a winds of 261 with 121 knots. Wow, it's just jet streaming. The winds in that level is minus 56 Celsius. And we are going to reach the cruise level in about 22 minutes of flying. Let's take a look at the meteorology and the METAR for Chicago. Winds is 300 with 15 knots, gusting 90 knots. The visibility in Chicago is pretty good, it's more than 10 miles. It's overcast 1,700 feet. So just after the takeoff we're going to pass into the clouds, and the temperature in Chicago is 13 degrees, dew point 10 degrees. Altimeter will be 2994. That's here. And right, and JFK will be winds 140 with 08, so you can, if you have a good meteorology, a good weather, and maybe we have it, we can request a New York approach to do the Parkway visual approach. We can do, because the visibility is more than 10 miles, and is broken. The most restriction clouds will be broken 30,700 feet, and this would be enough for us to do the visual approach for runway 13. And I think this is one of the most beautiful visual approach that we can do in flight simulation. Even during the night, when you can see the lights, all the nights have runs and so on, will be a very nice approach. So it's a very good opportunity and a very good nice for the inauguration flights on this channel. I'm going to produce just a few videos for this channel, but once we reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to start to do some complete workshops explaining 737 systems like fuel systems, electric, hydraulics, and so on. Okay, so share the content. These videos will be for free, and a complete and a very realistic flights. So subscribe if you are not subscribed yet, and share with your friends, with your networks, with your, friends that also like flight simulation and aviation. And New York, normally New York has this exactly the same conditions as JFK by the proximity, so they are very close of one of other one. So let's go to the cabin. I already have the airport charts in hands. I'm using the Navigraph desktop charts, and this is the chart for the Chicago ground. We are located at in the H4 gate in the Concourse 8 terminal. Actually, this is an international terminal, but no problem. Let's use this one. Well, I guess the international is this one, Terminal 2. Yeah, Terminal 2 is the international terminal, and Terminal 3, we're going to use this one, Terminal 3. By the winds, let's take a look in the wind. Wind for, oh, I didn't did the takeoff and landing calculation, but we can do this using the Topcat. Let's do this. I forgot to do this using the PFPX. Normally I do using the PFPX. So for the takeoff, the airport is Chicago. Let's update the weather from Active Sky. They are not recognizing Active Sky. Okay, never mind. I was supposed to do the um, how minutes it takes to regenerate this PDF file to do the performance calculation. Okay, let's close this and let's open the PFX again just to do the performance calculation for the takeoff and landing. Okay, and while we load the PFPX, let's go to the cabin and we can start to do the flight preparation. Okay, and so okay, who we with us? Just a few guys from Brazil. Welcome. Maybe Marlos Baptiste is not from Brazil, but all the other guys is my fellows, commanders. Hi Bruno, Reinaldo. Good evening, welcome. There is no complaints and no me because I'm doing videos in English, because this channel will be dedicated just for videos in English. Go to the cabin. Let me close this. It's my Skype. I don't want to have interruptions. Okay, back to my flight. Let's do the calculation, performance calculation. Oops. Compute flight, takeoff and landing. So weather is winds now is 31016, gusting 22. It's a little bit different. It's overcast now and 3200 and broken 2000. So weather is turning better now in Chicago, and maybe we're turning rust because I know a lot of formation is going through in New York and New England direction. For this winds, they are suggesting me to take the runway 32. Let me double check that. Runway 32. Yeah, it's this one. We can use 32 right or 32 left through Tango 10. Maybe I'm going to, okay, the taxi distance will be pretty much the same. Let's use 32 right as the PFBX is suggesting. And now let's do the calculation. I'm going to force to use flaps 5 for this flight. No special reason, because I like to sometimes to take off using flaps 5 by preference, but by the size of the runway you can, easily do the takeoff using flaps 1. Let me apply that and do the same for the landing calculation. For the landing, okay, the winds is 140 with 7 knots. Is broken 14,000. Okay, still conditions to do the visual approach, and I am going to change the runway for 13 left to do the parkway visual approach for that runway, and my approach will be with flaps 40. Let's do flaps 40 for this one because I have a visual approach with a very aggressive turn to get the final runway. So let's get an exception and use flaps 40 instead flaps 30, and then release the flight. I'm going to overwrite the previous flight and just generate the PDF file again. No problem. Let's do this. And now let me open the PDF. Well, here we go. Okay, so now I have the takeoff data card is over here and the landing data card with all information we need for the takeoff. Flaps 5 takeoff, reduce the thrust for 22,000 pounds and assume a temperature for 34 degrees. Takeoff speed will be V1 141, VR 141 and V2 146, and the landing for runway 13 left will be flaps 40 and the VREF will be 138. That's it, and time to go to the cockpit and start to do the cabin preparation. Okay, time to turn on the batteries, standby power, emergency lights, position lights to steady, logo lights, wing lights also for the external inspection. I'm not going to do the external inspection today, but let's turn the lights just to simulate that. We have ground power, let's turn it on and also put some lights in the cabin. And let's go and do the weight and balance. That's the first configuration I like to do. First of all, let's put the fuel for the flight is 6039. Payload is 60 tons for 0 fuel weights. What else? Let me remove the pitot cover. Ground power is connected. I'm not going to use air conditioning from the ground. The doors for, open the main door, connect the jetway, open the cargo doors, and also the service doors for the catering services. Okay, that's ready. Time to align the inertial system. Let me give you more light. This is dim. Let me have a bright. Wow, bright is more dark than dim, or is my impression? Okay, that's fine. Let's align the inertial system, first the left and then right, and put both nav position. I am going to keep my knob here in the status so I can follow how many minutes will take to align my inertial systems. And now let me do a cabin lights announcement test. Before to do that, let me put some background lights in my main panel. Maybe a little bit of lights in the panel as well, so you can also better follow my flights and my procedures once I'm using real time, real weather. I never change the time when I'm doing the flights. That's the real time in New York with real weather. Sorry, Chicago. Okay, let's do the cabin lights test. The proposal for this test is to make sure all the emergency and annunciator lights is working properly. So mainly the key lights like flaps, landing gear, but we have at least in the first flight of the day we have to do a full inspection, following line by line in the main panel and checking all the lights to make sure the lights is working fine. And also you have to do the same here in the after overhead and in the overhead panel. We have to make sure all the lights is working properly. And the same here in the pedestal panel. Once this is done, let's turn off the light test. I'm going to do some suctions for my standby instruments. I can do at this time auto brake in RTO, but let's hold to do this in the exactly time when the real time, real pilots they do. So let's hold a little bit to do the brake setup. So now it's time to do fire test. I have to test my fire systems, anti-fire, fire detection and extinguish before to run any engine. That also includes the APU. So if I have to run the APU very early in my flight, you have to make sure before to run the APU you can do the fire test systems just before to run the APU. So the failure detection is running. Now let's put the alarm, annulate the sound. So we have to make sure the overheat detection for engine 1 and 2 is working properly, and also the wheel well fire detection systems, and also the fire detections for engine 1 and 2 and the APU. And the next check is going to the master caution. We cancel the warn, the bell cutout, for the fire, and we have to see the overheat detection just over here in the master caution. And now I can, turn off the fire test. After that, I have to check the circuits for the extinguished systems 1 and 2. And what I have to see, I have to have here 3 green lights to make sure all the buttons with pressurizer water is ready to be used in case of fire for engine 1 and 2 and the APU. After that, if your equipment has the cargo fire systems, you have to do the same test here. Annulate the fire warning. We don't have overheat detection in the master caution for this test, but you have the fire detection systems here indicating the cabin, the section of the fire in the cargo department, if it's in the forward or afterward. So test is finished, and now we can take a look in the cabin just to take a look and ensure we have the fire extinguisher on board. We don't have any strange bags in the cabin, do a visual inspections. At this time I can also take a look in the door for the manual extension of the landing gear has to be closed and locked. And let's do the oxygen flow test. So you have to change the position for 100%, test the flow here, and the first officer will be the same at his side, clicking over here. But let's do our test and open here continuously and check the pressure. Don't, has to decrease a lot when you do this continuous test. So next one is to contact the ATC. I'm going to use online on the VATC network, so we don't have ATC connected for Chicago right now. Let's prepare and send my flight plan. So this flight will be from Chicago here to New York, alternating Newark to Chicago to New York, alternating Newark. Departure time will be 9:45 Zulu time. Time en route is 2 hours. Fuel available, if I am, let's double check that. Where is my fuel available? 2 hours 34 minutes of fuel. 2 hours 34 minutes. My speed is 450 knots, indicate speed, and my cruise altitude is 390. Type of aircraft is not heavy. Equipment suffix is L for the 737G. And now I have to put my flight plan here. As I got this flight plan from a real aircraft that is right now flying this flight, they just took over from Chicago. It's American Airlines 1305, the real one. and I'm going to copy the same flight plan they are doing right now. By coincidence, they just took off in a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to save this flight if I want to use this in the future at VATSIM and file the flight plan. So the flight plan is sent to the VATSIM network and all set, and so far so good. Now I can close this flight aware window. I use this to just to get the flight's information to do my see all this cloud is going to in New York directions, and let's go. Marlos Baptiste is from Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, close to Brazil. Good evening, Marcio. Good evening, everyone. Let me see if I have more. Tony Hayes, good evening. Wilson Neto, hello, everyone. Really look forward to keep watching Galenos NGX in English. Wish all the best on this brand new endeavor. Thank you, Wilson. Thank you very much, and help us to spread the message and share the content. Let's try to have the most, to increase the subscribers in this channel very, very fast, so I can do more videos. Okay, next step. We don't have ATC online. Let's use the coordinate the Unicom frequency that is 122.8 is in the CON1 radio. Let's check the weather in CON2 122.0 and open the microphone, the speaker, and let's get the most updated information.
Zulu weather wind 314 at 14 gusting to 21 visibility 10 sky condition 2000 scattered ceiling 3200 overcast temperature 12 dew point 7 altimeter 3001 advise on initial contact. You have information Lima Kilo Oscar Romeo Delta airport information.
We got information Lima altimeter adjustments and the winds checks and the situations is pretty much what we brief in the METAR in the flight plan. So let's go and do the CDU pre-flight position. Let's check the version. Iraq database is up to date. Engine ratings is 26 K of thrust. Everything is fine. Let's put the position here. First of all, the reference airport Kilo Oscar Romeo Delta. And let's get the inertial system, the GPS position to calibrate the inertial system and go to route. Origin is Chicago, destination is Kilo Juliet Foxtrot Kilo, is JFK, New York. Flight number is Alpha Alpha Lima American Airlines 1305. So the flight number is, and runway is 32 right. I will put manually the flight plan, okay, manually. So I have this exported from my PFPX, but I'm going to put this manually. So first waypoint is Doof, So departure procedure is O'Hare 8. That means vectors here in Chicago. Okay, that's why we don't have in the PFPX in the PMDG database the departure in Chicago is because it's just a takeoff. Go in the runway heading and wait for vectors. That's it. Very, very simple. Back to the route page number 2, and we are going direct to the waypoint Doof. Next one is Echo Lima X-ray. Waypoints we put in the right. Procedures and airways we put in the left. So next one is Hotel Alpha Alpha Kilo Kilo. Alpha Alpha Kilo Kilo. Next one is Dock C. And then we have a level change for 370. I don't know why. And then back to 390. Don't make sense. I'm going to just ignore that. Delta X-ray Oscar. Next one is Juliet Hotel Whiskey. Next page. Next one is J70 is airways, so we put in the left. And next one is Lima Victor Zulu. And then the arrival procedure is landing 6. Okay, and in landing 6 I'm going to do one adjustments because I know that if you check the landing chart, I'm going to show you when you brief the chart, they have a limitation at landing to fly at 250 at level 190. We are not going to go to overfly or LaGuardia, and let's activate that. So let's have the flight plan until landing. Next one is the performance data. Confirm the zero fuel weight, and the reserve fuel is about 2.2 tons, the reserve for this flight. Coast index, as I told you in the briefing, is 27. Normally American Airlines use 45. Cruise level is 390. Okay, the winds at the top of climb is 261 with 121. 261 with 121. Temperature is minus 56, so no changes. I'm going to just ignore that message for now. Drag request after landing. We don't have any waypoint after landing. Let's explain this why when doing the approach briefing. Execute and then one limit derate for TO2 and assume air temperature 34 degrees. Take off for flaps 5 and V1 back to the flight plan to get the takeoff speeds. V1 is 141 and also the VR, and the V2 is 146. Train the aircraft for 5.3. And set up the MCP. Turn on the flight directors. Put the V2 here, 146. Open mic. Let me put the heading for the takeoff. Runway is 32. Altitude is limited in 5,000 feet. Normally in US, when you have an airport below 1,000 feet, you limit the takeoff for 5,000 feet for the initial instructions. I'm not going to arm any automatically flighting. Heading, I could arm heading select, I could arm VNAV. I can't arm LNAV because the first waypoint is not in the direction of my runway. If I want, I can just put a waypoint here if I want. Let me see if I have a waypoint here. So if I want, I can create a waypoint just over here, just to to be able to turn on the LNAV. And now I'm going to do this in a very exclusive way that I'm going to present for the very first time. Even my channel in Portuguese, I never did this like that. So, and the goal here will be, I'm going to create a waypoint just in the runway extension, just to make sure that I will be able to use LNAV, because if I try to put LNAV now, I can't arm. I can do VNAV, I can do heading select, but I can't do LNAV because I need a waypoint here in the extension of the runway. And how to do this? Let's bring the MCDU. I'm going to show you guys a very nice trick. Fix page. Let's use any waypoint or airport close to the to the point I want to create it. There is several different ways to do this. Okay, I'm going to use this because I think it's the one of the easiest way to do this. And let's add this airport here. Kilo, Papa, Whiskey, Kilo, put in fix, click in ABIN. So, okay, because I'm not in that direction. Yeah. Oh, never mind, guys, never mind. I was supposed to fly in that direction to use this technique. Instead, let's see how we can do. Let me turn off the airports and waypoints. I can create an extension of the runway using the ILS for the runway 32 if I want. Let's do this because I promise you to do that. So if I get the ILS for runway 32 right, the waypoint reference for the ILS is India Delta November. India Delta November is right here. Okay, India Delta November. So I can put here legs page India Delta November, put as the first waypoint. Okay, execute, and I'm going to use this as a reference. I'm going to click in this waypoint, put the runway direction 323/2 miles, and then I create a waypoint just in front of the runway, 2 miles in front of the runway. If I want, I can extend this. Let me delete. Let's extend this to 5 or 3 miles or 5 miles ahead of the runway. So let's get the waypoint and put 323 is the runway direction /5, and then I can put here. So I create a waypoint just in the extension of the runway. Execute, and if I want, I can replace the original one to that one and fix the discontinuity. So I create a waypoint over here, and now I can by magic turn on the LNAV. That's it. So, and now I can arm the LNAV and VNAV. I hope you enjoyed this trick. Okay, next one. Let's go the scan flow. We are close for the departure. We have 15 minutes to do the takeoff. LEDs and flaps LEDs tested. PSU LEDs extinguished. Self interphone off. Engine reverse light extinguished. EC on and guard. Passenger oxygen switches guard. Landing gear 3 green lights. Flight recorder test and checked. Mach speed warning test 1 and 2 test, and stall warning test number 1 and number 2 test. Flight control switches, alternate flaps and spoilers, guard, yaw damper on, navigation switches normal, display switches normal and auto. Fuel temperature checked, and crossfeed valve check and closed. Electric panel checked, at least standby power and battery, standby power for the AC. I'm going to position it in the APU jam because I'm going to start the APU just in a few minutes. Standby power disconnect switches, guard positions, generators panel checked, wipers checked and park, circuit breakers, lights check, equipment cooling normal, emergency exit light guard, seatbelt signs on, passenger signs on, and window heat on, overheat test off and on again. Probe heat I don't need right now. Anti-ice off. Let's do the electrical hydraulic check now. Pressure and quantity on both systems A and B is fine. Let's turn off the hydraulic pumps by now. Cockpit voice recorder test and erase. Pressurization gauges test and checked. 3 air switches on. Recirculation fan on. Overheat detection for the PAX test. Engine bleeds on. Pressurization, cruise altitude 390 and landing altitude 0 feet for New York. The pressurization will be with auto. Let me check if I can close the valve manually. As I can see here in this point there, I am closing the valve. Back to the auto, was just a quick test. Lights checked, wing lights off. Ignition will be through the right systems. Next one, main panel. AFIS panel checked, zoom checked, arcs on, auto throttle. I can turn on now or just behind to do the takeoff. I'm going to wait for this time. Okay, main panel, autopilot, auto throttle, and FMC lights checked. Standby instrument checked. auto brake RTO, more tests here. DU switch to normal. Noise while steering switch guard position, DU checks and setup OK, fine. Parking brake set and APU start. Just a few minutes before the taxi turn on the APU, if you have ground power, of course. Pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist: oxygen tested 100%, navigation transference play switches normal auto, window heat on, pressurization mode selector auto. Flight instruments heading 094, altimeter 3001. Parking brake is set, engine start levels cut off, pre-flight checklist complete. Let's follow the APU start. Time to answer one or two questions in the chat window where you are. Good evening for... There is a new guys here? No yet. Just a few people's here. Just 9 people. As we start every project, start like that, and I hope this will grow very fast. And then you can, give me more gas to produce more videos. APU generator is on. We have to wait 30 seconds to 1 minute before to turn on the APU bleeds. In preparation for start, and let's close the doors, service doors, cargo doors, main entry door, ready for the departure. And let's do the cabin preparation for the engine start. Fuel pumps on, hydraulic panels, hydraulic pumps on, APU bleeds on, anti-collision lights on. Before start checklist: fuel 6 tons, pumps on, passenger signs on, windows locked, MCP V2146, heading 323, altimeter 5,000 feet. Takeoff speeds V1 and VR 141, V2146, CDU pre-flight completed, rudder and aileron trim 3 and 0, taxi and takeoff briefing not completed. Let's do the taxi and takeoff briefing now. Get the chart from Chicago. Okay, we are on that terminal over here. And I have to reopen my draw application. Why is not working? Back to the application. Okay, we are over here, and we are going to do the tax. Oops, not over here. We are over here, that X, and then we are going to taxi through the parking to Bravo, turn left on Bravo, be attention on all this intersection here, continue on Bravo, left on Bravo. We will pass over those bridges over here and follow and hold at Bravo to runway 32 right. That's the taxi briefing. Takeoff briefing. Are going to take off, and for any reason we just abort the takeoff for any reason below 80 knots. After 80 knots until V1, we just abort the takeoff for engine fire, any engine problem or any serious problem. After V1, we don't abort, we don't cancel the takeoff for any reason. We have to take off, climb minimum of 1,500 feet above the ground. Follow the quick reference handbook for the emergencies. And flying runway heading, of course. And back to the checklist. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed, anti-collision lights on before taxi checklist complete. Open the chronometer, the counter, and time to do the engine start will be number 2 first, then number 1. So parking brake released, and starting engine number 2 and pushing back. I'm following the N2 until 25%, and then we can move the levers for idle position. And when in idle, we have to follow all the parameters for the engine start, mainly the EGT. In case of problem, we just cut off the fuel, the levers. And we have to wait for the start until this start valve indicates close. I mean, will just extinguish. It started cut out, and now starting pushing back is complete. Starting engine number 1. Parking brake set. We have fuel flow, oil pressure and temperature is increasing. Started cut out. After start flow, generator is on. Oh, I forgot to... That's a big mistake. I forgot to remove the ground stuff. I'm sorry about that. Generator is on. Probe heat, PAX auto, isolation valve auto, APU bleeds off. Engine start switch is continuous, APU off, taxi lights on, flaps 5. Flight controls checked. Left neutral, right neutral, up neutral, down neutral, rudder to the left and right. My side is clear, clear on the left, clear on the right. Before taxi checklist. Generators on, probe heat on, anti-ice off, isolation valve auto, recall check, auto brake RTO, engine start levels, idle detents, flight controls checked, ground equipment clear before taxi checklist complete. Let's go to the taxi, and a reminder, taxi will be Alpha Foxtrot Bravo, left on Bravo. That's Foxtrot. Next one will be Bravo. Okay, let's make sure that is this one here. Yeah, this one left. The next left is Bravo. We'll be taking off with maybe 5 minutes of delay. That's okay. we can recover that time just accelerating a little bit in our flight. Looks like an aircraft is on final for a runway, or they are just overflying the airport. Okay, this is Bravo, next one right is Delta. Let's take a look in the chart. Bravo, next one will be Delta. And yeah, we just keep following Bravo, and we'll pass just in front of this terminal, Terminal 5, because I was seeing here, this is Terminal 5. But everything it's okay, it's normal. We are supposed to go in that direction. I want to do a lot of interactions, so now I'm going to open my secondary screen. That is not a secondary screen, actually is my work, is my other computer. Just to follow the discussions in the chat window. And if you have any questions about procedures, systems, and so on, just feel free and ask. I'm going very carefully in the text because I am open my PC, my computer. Oops. Hello Andresa Monia, how are you? Where you come from? Welcome. Subscribe and share and like, subscribe. When you have 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a special video, maybe a big workshop about systems for free. And if I can increase this channel size with, with maybe a few more subscribers, maybe I can do some weekly videos. So help me to spread the message. Yeah, I'm not a real pilot. I'm doing this for 15 years, more or less. And I fly this airplane for 10 years. Okay, where I am now. Parking brake set. Papa Bravo, that is the runway. Yeah, that's a hot spot, and we have to get authorization from here to cross this point. And let's keep going. I'm going to turn on my weather radar. Let's increase the gain, keeping automatically, and turn on the turbulence detection as well. Oh, my TCAS is supposed to be in US, altitude reporting off during the ground taxi. In Brazil, you keep this off. In VATS in Brazil, there is a local rule in the Brazilian division. In US and maybe the rest of the world, you keep this on for taxi operations. Okay, close to the runway, that's the holding point. Before takeoff checklist, flaps 5 green light, stabilizer train 5.3 units, engine start switch is continuous. Before takeoff check complete. Fixed landing lights on, taxi lights off, position to strobe and steady. Auto throttle on, and transponder TARA. Man, I am impressed. Marcos Baptiste, very welcome. It's my pleasure. I hope you like it. I hope you can, share this channel with your friends. Wilson out. Hi everyone. He really looks forward to keep this. Well, I read that. Yeah. Very detailed. That's my intention. Yeah. So, guys, I am now able to see the both screens. Okay. So if you have questions, I can read at the same time. I'm flying. Okay. So this video can be even better with a few participation from your side as well. Okay, let's align and do the takeoff. I'm going to do the rolling takeoff. I'm not going to stop in the runway. Let's check in the approach. Clear. Runway clear. Accelerate to 40%. Waiting to stabilize. Takeoff thrust. Toga. After they take off, I'm going to check your question. Okay, Miguel? Airspeed alive 80 knots. Cross check. V1. V2. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Let's keep the runway heading as we brief. We passed 400 feet. We could start the command, the autopilot now. Let's do that. Command A. Gears off. Auto brakes off. Reaching 2,000 feet. We can put the starter 2 off just after the takeoff. That's Chicago. I'm going to reset my altitude to go directly to the cruise altitude. It's 39,000 feet. And what I have to do when reset the altitude is to click in altitude intervention just to reset any restrictions if is any. Guys, I want your feedback about the sound balance between my voice and the simulation voice and the simulation sounds. Okay, how is good? Do you want me to decrease a little bit the simulation sound? Tell me. Miguel Lima Galeno, have you ever done a video explaining coordinates? Well, Miguel, I don't know if this is the scope of these flights, of these videos, because this is kind of advanced videos, and to explain coordinates, I don't know, this don't make sense. Maybe you are looking for flight planning videos, maybe. Tell me, and sorry if I not understood you well. Flaps up. Good question, Reynaldo. Andresa, on one question: why you prefer the vaccine and not the eval? Personal, decision. I fly eval over 13 years. Both are great, It's personal decision. That's it. Reynaldo Duarte is asking me what is the meaning of the buffer alert on the FMC. The buffer alert is a kind of pre-stall alert. For example, if I turn off the auto throttle and I decrease the power, in some time before they stall, I will receive the buffer alert, prior they stall. Let's take a look in the practice now. sound it's okay, but sometimes the video is kind of blurry. That's okay. The YouTube is adaptive videos. So when this happens, normally it's because your internet connection is not my connection. Normally, let me remove this drag request off landing. Just in a few minutes or seconds, we're going to receive the buffer alert. It's a pre-stall situation. I think the buffer alert they also means other stuff. I'm going to double check in the flight crew operation manual as well. Okay, in the yellow part, buffet alert. Now we have to accelerate and recover the aircraft. Okay, buffet alert is a pre-stall situation. Okay, pre-stall situation. And if you check the manuals, let me open one of my manuals. It's not buffer, it's buffet. Yeah, buffet alert. You know, buffet alert is not only when you are about to pre-stalling, but what causes is current conditions results in a maneuver margin less than specified. Okay, we have to bring back the airplane in the flight envelope. That means I can receive this message during the pre-stall situation. I can get this alert when doing turns, if very aggressive. I can receive this alert if I'm climbing, if I'm putting my plane attitude very high, in a very high angle. I also receive the buffer alert. And in the pre-stall, because when you are flying close to the stall situation, you are also flying out of your flight envelope. Okay, that's why buffet alert message appear. And a pre-stall situation is a very good example. I hope I answer your question, Reinaldo. Thank you. Well, welcome. As I told you guys, this channel and these flights, the live flights, will be more interactive if you ask me more questions. So we crossed 10,000 feet. It's time to turn off the fixed landing lights, put the seatbelt signs off, check the pressurization, that is normal, and let's continue the climb. No more questions? If you guys don't do questions, this flight is going to be a little bit boring. 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 Sometimes I forgot the correct pronunciations. And no, this is not my only YouTube channel. My project already has 2.5 years, and I have other projects mainly in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. When I have more than 150 videos already, with maybe more than 250 hours of instructions already. Just try to find, put the name of my project. It's called 2G Sim, 2 Golf Sierra India Mike, and then you'll be able to find my other channel that is dedicated for Portuguese videos. And I also have a website, it's 2gsim.com. That will be, I'm going to organize and update to synchronize the contents for English videos as well, not only Portuguese, because today the channel is only in Portuguese, the website, sorry. Okay, we crossed the standard altitude, and altimeter is set up to STD. Let's keep climbing. Miguel Lima is asking if I'm getting better frame rates in Prepare than FSX. Never, it's impossible. If you get the same machine and compare FSX with Explain, with Prepare, you will always get a better frame rate in FSX. But I don't think this is a mathematical rule, depending on on your PC. For the Prepare, you really need a very strong video card, not for FSX. FSX, you need a nice processor and a very, let's say, okay video card. But for Prepare, you have to be you have to have a very good video card. In terms of frames by second, I think FSX is still having the best performance. To be able to have the same performance, you have to upgrade your PC for sure. Correct, and a strong processor for both. Yeah, if you have a strong video card and a weak CPU, it's not going to work. The first is the CPU, always. But for Prepare, of course, the video card is very, very important as well. Um, Reinaldo has asked me to explain the use of altitude intervention. Of course, of course. Okay, let me mute. Okay, so the altitude intervention button that Reinaldo is referring to is that small button just in the right side of the altitude knob. This button has a logic of work. If you understand the logic of this button, will be very important, will be very easy to understand what this button can do. But they can do more than one thing. Okay, they can be used to change the cruise altitude, to do step climbs. They can use to delete waypoint restrictions, altitude restrictions. They can use to reset an altitude. Okay, so let's start with the more easy use of altitude intervention. Let's suppose you are climbing, and then, for example, I'm climbing now. I'm climbing passing 28,000 feet. And let's going to hold this altitude. Take a look here, you know. I am passing 28,000 feet and I want to hold this altitude, and then we have to press just altitude holding. And the aircraft will stop to climb and hold this altitude, okay? The aircraft will keep this altitude, the altitude when I press the altitude holding. This is can be required by the ATC, or for any reason. This is a tool, you can use whatever you want. This is a tool for the pilot to use it. And then if you want to climb again, you can just click altitude intervention, you know remove altitude. Oops, I don't think this was a good example. Yeah, I'm sorry about this terrible example. Yeah, you have to disarm the altitude holding and rearm vertical speed again. But let me give you another example. If you have restrictions in the next waypoint, for example, the next waypoint here will be this one, Hawk. And let's suppose I have a restriction of in this Hawk waypoint for below 29,000 feet, and we put this 29,000 and execute. Okay, and the restriction is appearing here, and the aircraft will not climb more than 29.15 feet because we are already 29, so they will not follow that. And if the ATC give us the authorization to remove this restriction, we can just click altitude intervention, and then the restriction will be removed. Okay, is to remove restriction, or also to remove restriction, or also to change the cruise level. Let's suppose I am flying 390 and I want to increase my cruise level for 41,000. If I put here 41 and put altitude intervention, my cruise level will be changed automatically for 410. Okay, so you can basically use to remove altitude restrictions during the departure, or you can use to change your cruise level to do step climbs, for example. Let me see if I have where did you get the checklist? Are you using it from FCOM manual? Yeah, I'm using that one. I just print out. I have a plastic version, and I using the Boeing checklist that is inside the FCOM manual. That's it. Explain the weather radar on the pedestal. Yeah, I can do this. Let me contact the ATC. They are calling me now, and then I explain to you a little bit of weather radar. 134.9. 134.9. Center good.
10. Ceiling of 2,300 broken, temperature 13, dew point 11, altimeter 2989ers, say approach request. Roger, shooting the ILS.
Angelo, this channel is not a Portuguese channel, okay? So it'll be 100% in English. For Portuguese videos, my main channel. So here will be just in English.
Descend maintain what? Altitude again? Yes, sir. It'll be descend maintain 3,000 on your present heading. Roger, 3,000 present heading. Thank you.
I have
1305 Cleveland Center, squawk 5743.
5743, 1305. If you want to see Portuguese videos, better to go to the other channel. I have more than 2 years of video already there in Portuguese.
American 1305, radar contact, flight level 327, about 5 miles west of Litchfield. Climb maintain flight level 390 and continue as filed.
Climb maintain 390 and keep as filed 1305.
AC 4580 at 2,500, reduce speed to 180 knots or less. Roger, at 2,500, reduced to 180 or less. Thank you. For AC 4580.
I think instead to explain the weather radar inside this video, I'm going to do one dedicated video for the weather radar because it's more complex that really looks like. You know, there is a very important to have some context in the weather detection techniques, how the system works, how they scan the clouds, you know. So I'm going to prepare a workshop especially dedicated to the weather radar. So keep tuned and subscribe us so you can receive the updates when you have it.
Roger, heading 300, cleared to cross.
Okay, got it, Luis. Understood now. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Turning on the ILS now for AC 4582. AC 4582, roger, lamping wind 30016, runway 28 left, clear to land. Roger, airport and runway in sight, thank you. 4582. No problem, sir, just to confirm you are clear to land 28 left. Roger, clear to land 28 left.
Questions? Have you even thought of becoming a real life pilot? Never. That's interesting, right? I really never, consider to become a real professional, at least a professional pilot. Never. I have a complete different activity, and I'm very happy in my activity, and I just do this for fun. And I have to confess, I love simulation. Maybe I like more simulation than flight a real aircraft. This alert means we are less than 1,000 to reach the cruise level. And let's go to the next question. Tony Hayes is asking me what is the difference between RNAV and ILS of both are flight by instruments. Yes. Yeah, good question. Very, very good question, Tony. So, okay, let's start with the ILS. The ILS is a precision approach procedure. RNAV is also a precision approach procedure, but RNAV is an approach that is related with, inertial, GPS, and radio navigation all together. Okay. RNAV is a mix between radio navigation, GPS navigation, and inertial systems navigation, and this is used to serve as a backup. If the ILS becomes inoperative, or also is a very good procedure when you don't have an ILS approach in certain airports or runways. The AirNav procedures, they can reach a close precision to an ILS category 1, for example. In ILS category 1, you can, fly very close to the runway, 200 feet above the runway for Cat 1 ILS. In RNAV, you can reach that level of precision, and is a procedure with a mix of radio navigation, inertial, and GPS navigation, and they have some requirements of performance. When we discuss about RNAV navigation, we also have to think about required navigation performance and actual navigation performance, RNP and ANP. This can be objects for other videos in the future, tell details about RNAV navigation, but they can reach the same level of precision than an ILS Cat 1. Okay. The ILS procedure is another precision approach procedure, and they rely on radio navigations. They rely on radio systems. They rely on ILS systems that is basically a localizer that keep the aircraft. They assist the aircraft to fly, horizontally, in lateral navigation. They put you in the runway and the glide slope when they command the aircraft descent for the final approach. And depending on the category of the ILS, we have Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 3A, Cat 3B. Depending on the category, they can even, put you from 200 feet above the runway like the ILS Cat 1, or they can even command your aircraft to do an auto landing and keep the aircraft aligned into the runway even after the landing, after the touchdown. They can keep your aircraft in the runway in the case of the ILS Cat 3. So the ILS will be always more precise because they are, they relies on more precision instruments. But RNAV is a very good procedure also, and just before the ILS precision approach, the RNAV procedures will be the most precision approach, you know. All the other approach like the VOR and DB and other kind of approach, they are non-precision approach, you know, and they have very high requirements of the minimums when you are supposed to see the air at the airport before to continue to do the landing, you know. But they are very different in terms of how they operate, you know, the ILS and RNAV. And for sure, this is a very dense subject, a very dense topic, and both the ILS and RNAV procedures, we have to do a special video just to dedicate it to those topics. But I hope this preview could help you to, you know, better understand the difference between RNAV and ILS.
Roger, thank you, sir. Have a good night. You too, thank you.
If you want more, you can ask maybe some specific questions. For example, on RNAV, you have to check your performance, you know. For example, here I have what is called, let me show you closer, you know. This is related to RNAV procedures. This is called RNP. This means required navigation performance. Okay, for example, my aircraft now, they get the position information from the GPS, from the radio navigation, from the inertial systems, and they determine the position of the aircraft. And they have a error, you know. So right now, the error is about 0.06, you know, nautical miles. This is my current performance. That is mean just a few meters of errors. That's because the aircraft get the position from the GPS and they do a cross-check from the radio navigation, and they do a cross-check with the inertial systems, and this is how they determine my performance on RNAV.
Radio check.
But it's, as I told you, it's a very dense topic. It's a very, very dense topic.
Roger, Delta 717, mic is working now. Oh, 717, Roger, thank you. Activity given on Santa, this is Roof 836 for you. Rouge 1836, Cleveland Center, ident. Rouge 1836, Cleveland Center, radar contact, flight level 350, continuous file. Continuous file, Rouge 1836. Delta 717, you can expect the visual runway 22 right approach. Delta 717, expect the visual runway 22 right approach. Roger, 717, expect visual 22 right. Bridge 1836, say again.
You called me, so that's why
No, no, Marlos, I don't have intention to upgrade to version 3. It's no reason, in my opinion, it's no real reason to do that.
Delta 717, turn left heading 040, vectors for the visual. Left 040, vectors for the visual, 717. United 3212, checking in with you at flight level 360. United 3212, Cleveland Center, squawk 5730. Squawk 5730, United 3212. Delta 717 Heavy, descend and maintain 7,000, turn left 10 degrees. Maintain 7,000, left 10 degrees, Delta 717 Heavy. Yeah, 3212, radar contact, flight level 360, 4 miles southeast of Torrington, continue south. I'm sorry, sir, that's 4 miles southeast of Tyrone, Bureau.
Let's brief the approach. Let's go to the approach briefing. So the procedure will be the landing 6, and this is a pretty simple approach. So we just have to be at landing at 190, level 190, and the maximum speed is 250 knots. Okay, and normally they proceed you to LaGuardia and you overfly LaGuardia, but this procedure is not mandatory. You can do this or not. Maybe I'm going to overfly LaGuardia, and I tell you what, maybe you have more time to circulate this area over here 10 miles around JFK, you know, and then I will join through here the parkway procedure, and the parkway procedure will start here, and then we will approach visual right here and to land in that runway. And this procedure is very easy. So let's tune the LaGuardia VOR is 113.1. Let's have this done, 113.1.
Delta 717, descend to maintain 4,000.
And we fly the radial, you know, 315 or 135. Let's put in the course 135. 135 in my course, left and right. Okay, pretty much that's it. Now time to go to the visual approach. It's called Parkway Visual Approach for runway 13. And of course we have to update the weather. Let's take a look in the weather for JFK.
Kilo, Juliet, Foxtrot, Kilo, airport information, Bravo, 0051, Zulu, weather, wind, 163, at 8, visibility, 10, sky condition, 3,300, scattered, ceiling, 14,000, broken, ceiling,
yeah, we can do 13.
broken, temperature,
Swings 160
altimeter,
with
302, 8, advise on initial contact, you have information, Bravo, Kilo, Juliet, Foxtrot, Kilo, airport information, Bravo, 0051, Zulu, weather, wind, 163, at 8, visibility, 10, sky condition, 3,300, scattered, ceiling, 14,000, broken, ceiling, 18,000, broken, temperature, 132.6, altimeter, 3028, advise on initial contact, you have information, Bravo, Kilo, Juliet, Foxtrot, Kilo, airport information, Bravo, 0051, Zulu, weather, wind, 163, at 8.
Okay, it's confirmed. We can use, is still using this procedure.
Rouge 1836, leaving my airspace to the east.
And then we start this
frequency change approved.
procedure from here. The initial approach fixes assault.
Thank you. Rouge 1836.
We can plot this if you want. Let's do that. Assault.
Cleveland Center, good evening. Delta 2887 Heavy with you, flight level 380.
Going to put LaGuardia.
Delta 2887, Cleveland Center, squawk 506.
And also
5706 for Delta 2887 Heavy.
I'm going to fly around the 10-mile circle of the JFK. Let's go to the fixed page, JFK, and then plot a circle around JFK of 10 miles. And then we go to see a green circle, just like this, around JFK to serve as a reference.
Okay, continue as filed. Good evening, Delta 2087 Heavy.
And after we fly manually
Delta
this
717 Heavy,
circle,
turn right heading 210.
we are going
Intercept
to
runway
start
22 right,
and go to
localizer.
assault. Let's add this one here.
Right 210, intercept localizer 717 Heavy.
Let's put the runway. Will be 13 left, not ILS. Just a reference of the runway will be visual. 13 left. And let's put a point here 2 mile in the extension of the runway and execute. And we have a discontinuity here that I'm not going to fix this because we're going to fly manually this circle. And the waypoint in IAF IAF is the initial approach fixes assault.
Delta 717 Heavy, this is vectors 3 localizer.
After assault, we go to Canarsie VOR.
To re-intercept. Right 240 intercept.
After Canarsie VOR is visual, 100% visual. Okay, but at this point we have to be visual at this point. When you reach here, you know, the Hawkway point, we have to be visual, and this point will be, you know, above 2000, and here be above 13,000, and you know, in this area, all this area here, we have to have visual to continue, to be able to continue to this visual procedure. So we can in any case overfly this aqueduct racetrack. We can't, it's prohibited. Okay, so you have to pay attention to do this turn with no overflying the aqueduct racetrack and fly in this runway over here. There is a lot of lights guiding your approach. Cluster of lights over here, another cluster over here, another one over here, another over here.
The airport is going to be at your 12 o'clock,
It's a lot of
field in sight.
visual reference. We have also some reference for the Canarsie VOR. We can put in a standby frequency 112.3. Let's do that.
717 Heavy, that'll work. Clear visual approach, runway 22 right at Detroit.
112.3. Let's keep this as a standing by. That's it. In assault, we have to be at, you know, we can be at 2000 here if you want, but let's do the descent manually. Okay, let's see if I'm going to solve the discontinuity. I'm not going to solve this. Let's keep this as a reference, That's it. They are saying I'm using reserve fuel. Let me decrease the fuel a little bit here in the performance just to avoid to receive this kind of message. I'm going to decrease to 1.8. This is just for awareness to receive message when you are flying under the secure fuel. This is because the alternate airport is very close. Maybe I was about to put extra fuel for my taxi in Chicago. Normally is that, but this is very normal to get this kind of message when you're running in real flights. A friend of mine that is a commander told me. When is a good time to brief the approach? Before the top of descent? Always, yes, Marlos, always before the top of descent, okay? You know, you have to be fully briefed, you know, fully briefed before to reach the top of descent. So when I am flying by myself, you know, that I am able to do a very more quickly brief because I don't have to explain every aspect of the approach procedure. I do this brief when I am about 100 miles from the top of descent. Why I'm doing videos, so I have to explain more, I have to give you more details, and then I anticipate my brief for 200 miles.
United 728, I've got your IFR clearance.
And then I do also, when I finish the approach briefing, I also do Descent checklist, but I have to do one thing more.
You
Is
got
the
32
taxi
ready to
briefing.
copy.
We can do the taxi briefing as well.
United 728 cleared to the Boston Logan International Airport.
Okay,
Via
we
radar
are
fails,
landing
then
in
as
this
final.
runway,
Maintain 5,000.
and
Expect
our
4
terminals,
3010 minutes after
America
departure.
Airlines
Approach
terminals,
frequency
are
134.9.
Terminal
Squawk
8.
5724.
So we will try to, leave the runway here at Delta, turning right via Delta or via Whiskey
You got to wait clear to Boston Logan
until
International
Terminal
Airport
8.
as filed via the fails radar vectors. Initial altitude
For
5,000
that,
feet.
I'm going
Start
to
flight
use
level
auto brake at
330.
level 3
Flight
just to make
frequency
sure we
0,
can
squawk
leave the runway at
5724,
Delta
exactly.
as we brief. That's why I'm going to put auto brake in level
United
3.
728, readback is correct. Advisor ready for taxi. Altimeter 2988, 24 left.
Let's check
Roger,
the
24 left.
landing altitude is 0 feet. Let's do a recall. Let's set up the frequency. We don't have frequency, but let's set up the VREF speed, as my VREF has to be 138 is correct. Actually, I'm going to keep the 138 as planned. The minimum will be 2,000 feet above the ground. Actually, for this procedure, let me see the minimum for this parkway visual. Transition altitude is 180, and we have to check these instructions over here for the minimum. When clear for parkway visual up to runway 13, maintain at or above 2000 until a beam Rockaway Point. Remains west of Rockaway Point, 10s east of Kingsburg. I don't know how to say this. Community College. Remain east of the Shore Parkway. Cross Brooklyn Coast Guard Air Station at or above 1,500 feet. Remain east of the Shore Parkway until Canarsie Pier. The minimums is 2,500 feet. It's not 2,000. 2,500. Now we have. Okay, descent checklist. Pressurization, landing altitude 0 feet. Recall check, auto brake level 3. Landing data, VREF, flaps 40, 138, minimums 2,500 feet. Approach briefing complete, descent checklist complete. Questions? $1 million question, when is the approach phase considered? The approach phase is when you start your STAR procedure, okay? We have approach, then we have the final approach, okay? The approach is the STAR, and our STAR is landing. It's this one. So my approach starts when I am here in Lima Victor Zulu, okay? Because I'm executing the approach chart. The IAF
Thank you, sir. American 1305.
is the initial approach fix for final approach. When I am joined here, I am under final approach. Final approach. And when I am here, I am on final of the runway. Okay? Is approach, final approach is and final of the runway. It's like 3 different terms. But when you are in the STAR, when you are doing your descent, you are already doing your approach, you know. Where's my $1 million? More questions. Because after I start my descent, and mainly when crossing 110,000 feet, I'll not be able to answer questions because I has to be on sterile cockpit policies. We cannot talk too much, just the essentials. That's the recommendation of my company, American Airlines. When do you add 200 feet to the minimums? Depending on the chart, when? Okay, during the descent preparation, during the descent briefing and descent preparation, when you know what will be your final approach procedure, and then when you have the access to the final approach procedure, you know what should be your decision altitude. In this case, as in a visual approach, the decision altitude will be 2,500 feet. 2,000 feet above the ground normally is for ILS Cat 1 approaches. I'm doing this very early just to be prepared, but the ATC, they can always ask me to do a different procedure, so we can in any time be asked to select a new procedure. And if they ask us to select a new procedure, we have also to adjust the minimums, we have also to adjust the frequencies, we have also to adjust everything, and we have to be ready for that. Close to 40 miles to top of descent. A good time for a break. I'm going to ask for a glass of water. Of course, no one will bring this water from me. I have to go, and I'll be right back. Center, American 1305. We're going to step away for 1 minute. We are about 40 miles to the top of descent.
Aircraft calling American 1305. You're leaving my airspace, and frequency change is approved. New York Center is not online. Have a good day.
Changing Unicon to 2.8. Good day. 1305. I'll be right back. Okay, let's fix this situation, Marlos. You always get confused between baro and radio. Let me explain this for you, okay? The baro altimeter is related to the sea level, okay? When I put 2,500 feet, is related to the sea, right? Radio is an instrument that is like a bat, is like a sonar, is a radio sensor that sends a signal to the ground to determine what is the altitude between the aircraft and the ground. Okay, so when you choose radio, and if you choose 200 in radio, and if the altitude of the ground of the airport is about 2,000, and the equivalent in baro will be 2,200. okay? Because radio is related to the ground, not to the sea. And there is a radio equipment that is capable to detect the altitude related between the aircraft and the ground. And the radio altimeter as an instrument, this can be influenced by the mountains, by the region, even by buildings. If you overflight a hill just behind the runway, the radio altimeter measure will be affected by that hill. Okay, that's why if you have some hills, mountains in the area, maybe it would be a good idea to use always baro instead radio, all the time. And this is normally in the chart as well, In the case of New York, there is only one, but normally if you get an ILS in a field that has an altitude, for example, Chicago is about 600 feet above sea level, okay? And when you get an ILS procedure for Chicago, let's say for runway 14 left, runway 22 right, Chicago is about 600 above the ground, okay? And then we have to fly an ILS procedure on Chicago. You can use a radio altimeter that is 200 for the minimums, or you can use the baro that is 860 feet. So by this you can determine what is the altitude of Chicago. The field is 660 feet above the sea, right? Above the sea. I hope you understood now. Oops, I forgot to reset my altitude in my MCP. Doing this now and reset my VNAV. And let's put 19,000 feet because it's my restriction on landing. Okay, 19,000. We already started descent. I'm going to put the seatbelt signs on so the flight crew can start to work in the cabin to secure the cabin for the landing. And this is all about monitoring now. When doing landing 6, I like to descend using the level change in New York. So I'm going to put level change to go to 19,000 feet. I will also increase my descent speed because I want to be at landing. Before landing, I want to be at 190 feet and 250. So by now, once I don't have any restriction for my speed, let me increase my descent speed, in the limit, just to ensure that I will be able to cross landing. Before landing will be at 190 and my speed before landing will be 250. Just trying to anticipate what I have to do by obligation. I lost my descent. I was talking too much. That's what happened when we talk too much. And look for other screen instead your screen. What is the difference when descending using level change and VNAV? Another good question. When you descend using level change, you prioritize the speed, okay? When you use VNAV, they will read what is programmed in your FMC and will try to execute it. You know, level change is a kind of manual descent. You know, VNAV is automatically, they will read what is in your FMC. And of course, sometimes if they can reach what is in the FMC, they send some message. That means we will not be able to follow your VNAV descent navigation. When you type level change, they will first execute the speed. Once in that speed, they will do the descent in a rate of descent that the aircraft can control the speed to be exactly in that speed programmed, in the programmed speed. Okay? And you can also have the vertical speed, as you probably know, is the one I am using right now. I changed it for vertical speed because I lost my descent point, just to compensate the time I lost, you know. And that's why my speed is not controlled. I'm not controlling my speed. The aircraft just descends wherever they have to do to reach my descent vertical speed of 3,500 feet by minute, because I want to accelerate my speed. I force that. I hardly use vertical speed, hardly, just in some special cases like this one, because I lost my path, my descent path. But hardly I use vertical speed. But this is how about a bench of tools? You just select whatever time you want to apply to reach your goals, and then you can decide what to use. Vertical speed, level change, VNAV, is up to you. That is a bunch of tools. Just choose the best one. The level change does ignores the altitude restrictions. Well, the level change, they will do what you program them to do, okay? For example, if you put here in your MCP the altitude of 19,000 feet, the level change will follow that restriction, okay? They will follow the restriction by the MCP altitude, not using the FMC data. Now time to go to level change, just to ensure we'll be in the 250 of speed as is in the chart. There is a restriction that we have to execute. We are about to land in about 15 minutes. We are very close of JFK now. Now it's 2:03 Zulu time. The landing will be 2:15, so 50 minutes as I told. Okay, now we reach the speed restrictions of 250. I can get off the speed brake. And after landing, we will descend for 8,000 feet. And don't forget, we're going to use, we will do a very, very, very nice approach in New York. It's called Parkway Visual Approach. Some people also call this procedure Canarsie approach. There is a very nice approach. There is a perfect inauguration flight. It's my two favorite airports in the US, and doing my favorite procedure and one of the beautiful approach procedure in the world. I love this procedure. You guys will see what I'm talking about. So time to go level change now to 8,000 feet. I don't have ATC. Let's double check. Yeah, we don't have it. Not for JFK. Let me coordinate a little bit the traffic. I use the speed brake to increase my descent rate. Let me coordinate. Traffic JFK, descent. Heading off LaGuardia to circle 10 DME through east, then Parkway Visual runway 13 right, 13 left. Estimation of landing will be 0215. Will be more, 0220. Cross the transition altitude and approach checklist altimeter 3028. Checked 3028. Approach checklist complete. We are approaching LaGuardia, so I'm going to turn and execute this DME arc just to be away of the airport area when doing my descent. Now let's change to heading select and turn to the left to execute this DME. I'm doing this navigation by my own. We don't have ATC. Doing by my own. I'm not sure if you have to do this when reaching LaGuardia or not. Normally, actually, after landing, I turn right, heading 180 to almost all the runways. But sometimes, I'm able to see in the flight radar 24. There is some aircraft they overfly LaGuardia and do a circle using the south circle of the airport. Okay, 13,000 feet. Just in a few minutes I will not be able to answer more questions, okay? If you have any question, now it's a good time to do, because in a few minutes I will not be able to answer anymore. I will continue my descent to 5,000 feet. I'm going to select the Canarsie VOR now, and the reference radial will be, where is Canarsie? Parkway will be 043. Crossing 10,000, fix the landing lights on, engine start switches go to continuous, seatbelt signs on, cabin crew prepare for landing. Let me turn on the lights here so you guys can better see it as well. Tony, can you do the arc in the MCDU without creating new waypoints? No, it's not possible. You have to create new waypoints, and then you have to follow the waypoints. That's why I do prefer to do by heading, you know. That's why I like to do creating this circle and just follow the circle by heading. Will be the same. This is the simplest way to do DME arcs. And of course, as you should know, you can always create waypoints to, you know, do a full automatically by LNAV to execute the DME arcs. But the easiest way is to do like I am doing right now. Or you can do by radio, you know, tuning the VOR, you know, watching the VOR pointer and so on. But this is the easiest way to do in this aircraft. Okay, descending, I'm already descend to 5,000 feet. I'll keep 5,000 for a few moments and going to reduce for final approach. Congrats guys, you really contribute for a very good workshop, for a very good video. Thank you very much. Mainly to Tony and Marlos. Marlos was the top contributor for tonight, for this evening flight. Thank you very much. Part of the content relies on your contributions, you know. I cannot do great videos if I don't have good contributions as well. Okay, going to reach 5,000. Let's decrease the speed for 2. Let's put the first flap speed and reduce the speed for the first flap speed, and also, you know, descend to 2,000 feet for the final approach. Marlo's comment, he liked his method. Would need a bit more explanation some time around. Of course, keep tuned. This is the very first video, you know. In my Portuguese channel I have a lot of contests, like full workshops and so on. This project, this spin-off of my project in English is just starting today. I'm going to keep, you know, cover a lot of systems in details. Going to do a lot of tips, a lot of, you know, procedures, explanations. Just keep tuned and let's have some fun all together. And my contribution that I ask from you guys is to like the video, share the you know, this channel in your communities, and help this to grow. Flaps 1. Flaps 5. There is three methods that you can use to do DME arcs. I'm going to explore all of them in future videos. Just keep tuned. Speed brake armed. Cabin crew, prepare for landing now. Just having fun simulating this kind of communication. Okay, we can go now to assault and have some assistance from my MCDU and doing lateral navigation. Yeah. Let's use the tools that we have it, right? 2000. Minimums, we have to be visual, right? No clouds. Actually, the decision point is in the initial approach fix after that, actually. You don't have to decide right now. As you guys can see, I anticipated a lot the speed reduction, just to be sure that we can control the speeds for the final approach fix, you know. We can do a more controlled approach, but normally we get to assault not very low speed like this one, no. Maybe 180, 190, even 200 knots we can control the approach. But let's do like this, huh? Gear down, flaps 15. At Canarsie we have to be full configured for landing. Let's prepare the altitude for 1500 feet will be our next altitude. After assault we have to descend for 1500. Okay, let's go heading select and start the turn in advance. Descend for 1500. Go to Canarsie VOR. We are visual now. I can see a lot of lights. Okay, at this point, this is the right time to do the gear down, you know, in this point. I just anticipated a little bit. Time to hands fly now. No yet. When I have to see the lights to be able to turn off the autopilot, so let's keep going. I have to see the assistance lights, the light clusters, the ALS. You can use whatever tool you have in hands, Marlos. Okay, as you go in other flights, you see the difference and some nuances between one or other. So we start to have issues of memory now. Autopilots. Okay, let's go flaps, full flaps. And the VREF is 138. The approach speed will be 143. Autopilot off. Auto throttle off. I have control. Landing check. Engine start switch is continuous. Speed brake arm. Landing gear down. Green lights. Flaps 40 green lights. Landing checklist complete. We have to watch the speed carefully. I'm having memory alerts. Hopefully we'll be able to touch down. I'm using Global FTX from Orbex plus New York JFK version 2 from FS Dream Team. There is a very high memory consumption resources. We are exactly in the correct path. We can see the VASI lights, white and red. That's a perfect approach. Perfect approach. A little bit high. As I told you guys, this approach is just beautiful. Beautiful. Runway in sight. Landing. Spoilers arm, reverse. Auto brake engaged. Auto brake is not engaged. Manual braking. Reverse off. Okay to clean up. Speed spoilers off and flaps up. Auto brake off. Taxi lights on, fixed landing lights off, switches to off, position lights to steady, MCP, flight directors off, auto throttle off, transponder to altitude reporting off, APU start. No, V3 can't fix the out of memory error. They can't. The only way to fix this is to develop a 64 bits. If they say they fixed, I don't know. I don't believe it, you know. Pitot heat off. Well, depend on the airline procedure, but normally you keep this on when you have the engines running. Normally, you know. If you have your engines running, you keep the pitot probe heat on all the time. All the time. That's the procedure for American Airlines, procedure for Go, procedure for all the, you know, actually all the SOP that I have access, they recommend us or they ask us to keep the probe heat on during all the time when you have the engine starts running, engines running. APU on bus. Going to Terminal 8, the Eagle's house. I want to thank you guys for watching, you know. There's the very first video of this channel. If you did not, don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends in the social networks that you have access. Help this channel to grow, help this project to grow. When you reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a very special video, promise you. I already have close to 4,000 subscribers in Portuguese, but I think we have a bigger potential for videos in English. Okay guys, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. I see you next time. Thanks for the questions. Thank you for the participation. Bye bye. American 211, welcome to São Paulo. Here runway through the left and cross runway. American 211, line up and take off. American 211, welcome to São Paulo. Here runway through the left and cross runway 9 left. American 211, line up and take off. American 211, welcome to São Paulo. Here runway through